back from the Ridge to Rails 50K race yesterday, which is why we didn't stream yesterday on our normal schedule. But I wanted to go through and talk about like just a general race recap. If you have any questions, if you have any desire to do a ultra run or an ultra race at any point in time and you got questions, by all means, ask them either below in the comments or in the chat. I will not keep you guys waiting. I'll run through the course, the distance, and the total elevation gain and my time real quick. So course was a little bit over 50K, not by much, but it was 31.8 miles. So it was just over a 50K by a smidge. There was 5,700 feet of gain. My watch had it at 5,500, but I kind of trust the race director more. And the time was 7 hours and 36 minutes for the whole thing, which we'll get into why that happened and why I think I feel kind of awful today. Turns out going out too hard in an ultra is a bad idea. But we're going to start with why I did it before we get into that. So why did I do a 50K? And mainly because I wanted to push myself. It's going to make doing a marathon in December feel easier. Like marathon versus 50K, not close. The 50K was way, way, way harder. I think a lot of that comes down to the elevation gain that we had there. Like a flat 50K on some like nice single track trails, I think would have been totally fine. But with the amount of up and down there was, it was hard. So the other thing, sorry, again, always notes. The other thing that I think was really good about doing it was it gives me more context for the store. So, you know, I have people coming in asking about longer trail races, and it's not an area that I had spent much time in. Obviously, with my background, I haven't spent a lot of time on the trails. So being able to say like, hey, yeah, I've done this. I've done a race where I'm on my feet for 7.5 hours, even if it's not super fast paced. I think that gives some useful context to me to be able to help other people and see what I did right, what I did wrong, and maybe be able to give other people some advice. The course was really, really, really well done. It's put on by Tanawa Adventures, and man, they just did such a good job. The course was really, really well marked. There are confidence markers throughout the whole course. They're like little tassels, kind of, that are all the same color, or like ribbon, if you want to call it that. And every half mile or so, you would be like, oh, yep, I'm still on course. And for a race this long where there's not really segmented gates or anything, it's like you could go off track. Anytime there was a turn where it's like, was I supposed to go that way or that way? There were always a bunch of confidence markers right where where you could have forked off. And then you'd see 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 more confidence markers as you go across whichever direction was correct. So there was not really a point in the race where I was like, what do I do? Which was really cool. I like that a lot. I was really pleased with it. Aid stations, they were excellent. My only real qualm is I would have liked maybe one more, which I think the way the course was set up, it would be hard to do that. But there were 4 aid stations in total. 3 of them were full aid stations. One of them was just like a water. They had a couple of pickles. And actually, they had ibuprofen at that one, which was relevant for me. But yeah, the course was awesome. It was hard, you know, with the amount of vertical gain, there's not like an easy way to do it. It was really interesting. So like you backtrack a couple of spots where it's like, oh, I just ran down this, and then you think, oh, that means I have to run back up that. but it was like overall really cool and a very um, worthwhile course layout. I think it was done super well. Um, what else? Some brutal sections, but the whole thing was pretty awesome. There were also some cool views. So there were some times where you were up higher looking out, um, uh, like into the mountains of Western North Carolina, and that was really cool, especially with all the green getting there for this time of year. Um, so running through the race real quick, early in the race, I got out a little too fast. The first 1 or 2 miles, I was like kind of cranking, but not on purpose. Like the miles weren't fast. I think the first one was 8:15 or 8:30 for the mile, and the second one was like 9 minutes, but it was 9 minutes at a pretty hard incline. And there was like a stream of people behind me. I don't know how I ended up at the front of this pack. I was like, if anybody wants to pass me, you can. And like nobody wanted to for a while. So I felt like I had some pressure on me to keep going, even though I knew my heart rate was higher than I would have liked it to be at that time, that early in the race. And eventually some people were like, oh, yeah, we would like to pass. And I was like, awesome. Let me step to the side. You guys can go. So that was good. So chilled out into a pretty big downhill section. So I was not like trying to force a bunch of pace going uphill after everybody passed me. Once they all passed, I was like, I'm going to go at my comfortable pace. I'm going to, like, on the really uphill pieces, I'm walking. I just didn't feel any pressure to go fast. The problem is, once I got to the top, I was feeling pretty good. So call it around mile 10. Then there was a pretty good descent that came through, and this is after I got my first aid station. It was really hot, which we'll get into in a minute as well. But big descent. I guess the descent was closer to mile 16 going into the second aid station. So mile 14 and 15 had some pretty good descending, but it was really flat from like 10 to 14, I guess. Just some kind of like rolling hills, and that was really fun. If the race ended at mile 16, I think I would have had an absolute blast with it and left feeling pretty good about stuff. Unfortunately, the amount of effort and the amount of pounding I took when I was going down those hills maybe made the second half of this race harder. So my goal going in was somewhere under 8 hours. So we hit that goal. Now I said 8 hours instead of 6 hours because I think eight would have been, I was thinking eight was going to be pretty easy for me physically. And going through the halfway point, I was on pace for 6 hours, which is what I think I could have done if everything went right, if body was like feeling great, um, and I was willing to go like all the way to the well. But that's also clearly not what happened. So felt pretty tough going 7.5 hours for me. So I literally wrote down here after that big downhill, I said at mile 16, dot, 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 error in all caps. And I just think I took such a beating flying down the hill because that was my second and third fastest miles of the whole race, not to include mile one. Mile one was my for like number one fastest. Getting to 16 is where the aid station was, got refueled, felt really good about that. But I could tell I was like, ooh, this is starting to get kind of uncomfortable. Something around mile 7 in my arch started to hurt, my right foot, and I don't know what is going on with it, but like today, my foot hurts a lot, and I don't love that, but kind of is what it is. 16 to 22 was awful. I did not enjoy that. That was like the dark place. That was real. I wasn't having a good time. I tried listening to music. I tried listening to David Goggins. I tried listening to nothing, and it all kind of sucked. But it was cool because at mile 22, the owner of Mountain Running Company was actually at the aid station there, and um, I was pretty beat. So like I sat down on a rock for a while and talked to him, and I took the compression sock that I had on my right foot off. I think it was kind of squeezing my foot in, kind of like this. And when I took it off, I was like, oh, I can splay my foot out. But I think the damage had kind of been done. My foot was already pretty pissed off. There were a lot of rocks as well. So I don't know if it was squeezing of my feet from the compression sock, if it was um, rocks kind of bumping into my foot. And I'll talk about footwear here in a second as well. Or if it was just something overall different. But yeah, 16 to 22 was real tough. Seeing the owner at 22 was really cool. It was like, oh, this is familiarity, someone I know, like, and trust. I got more water. I actually ran out of water for maybe a half a mile. I had two 500 milliliter flasks in my vest, and having those was good. I go through a lot of fluid. I think I ended up going through 4.5 liters of water, or like scratch hydration during, which, you know, that's a lot of fluid to go through. So I was a little surprised that I felt like I would have liked more water with me, but I would have. That's where I think I would have liked one more aid station. And it got really hot. Again, we'll get to that in a minute. Next is shoes. I was wearing the La Sportiva Prodigio Pro. I was doing the Nike half tights. I think they're called Challenger. They're the cheaper half tights. I actually just really like them. And I was wearing a La Sportiva shirt with a Solomon vest. So the kit was really good. I think the compression sock maybe was a mistake, but I really like compression socks. They make my legs feel good. So I don't know. It would have been nice if that worked. But the shoe itself, Prodigio Pro, was okay. I actually kind of wish I had a different shoe. The other shoe I was considering was the On Cloud Ultra, and some of On's running stuff isn't awesome, but I actually really, really, really like the On Cloud Ultra, especially for something like this. I didn't know what the course was going to be like. If it was going to be like Grandfather Mountain here in North Carolina, where it's all roots and really technical running, Prodigio Pro would have been awesome. Also, the Prodigio Pro already had like 100 plus miles on them, so I think the shoe was starting to maybe lose some of its zest. The On Cloud Ultra has a nylon plate that runs through it that I think would have acted as a nice rock plate. And this course was not, it was in great condition. It was not super duper technical. Like there were some spots where you had to do some like fast foot stuff, but overall, I think the lugs, even though they're small, are they over here? No, I don't know where they're at, but yeah, no, I don't see them. But the lugs aren't very deep in the On Cloud Ultra, but I enjoyed it. I think that shoe feels nice and it feels fast and it's really breathable. Not that the La Sportiva isn't, but it also has less miles on it. I think I would have preferred that shoe for the whole thing. I think it would have just felt a little more protective. Now for the hydration and food, as I said, 4.5 liters of fluid. I think 1.5 liters of that was scratch. The other amount was just straight water. I had 2 Carbs Fuel 50-gram sodium, 2 Carbs Fuel 50-gram non-sodium, and a SIS isotonic gel, because those just sit really well on your stomach and sounds very mild and like it sounded appetizing. I also had 3 mandarins. I had some Nerds gummy clusters at each place. I had more than a can's worth of Canada Dry ginger ale, or uh, Coke, had Coke as well. Before I got started, I had some Dots, like just OG Dots candy, and a Red Bull. So again, more carbs. I had about a third of, those like little movie box Sour Patch Kids. I had about a third of one of those. Um, and then I had a bunch of pickles. Turns out I really liked pickles for that. So went through a really solid amount of fuel. I did not love the like last 7 miles or so. I didn't really like putting the fuel in. That was not something that I enjoyed. So I did less of it, which was maybe not good, but I did have some friends at the last aid station. I think it was around mile 24. And these are guys that come into the store all the time that I talk to regularly that are in the ultra running space, and seeing some guys who just had a ton of energy and were like happy to help. Like everyone's happy to help, but they're like, "Oh, this is one of my people." That was super cool. So Griffin and Will, you guys are sick. Appreciate you guys. Um, Thought that was really cool to have folks like that. What else? I had some other stuff up here on this tab. Um, Gear wise, heat. Heat was the next thing I was going to talk about. Holy crud. It was hot. Um, the start of the race felt pretty good. It was like 60 degrees, so a little warmer than you would want, but not bad. By the time we were finishing, it was like 86 degrees. That is not conducive to running fast or running well. Um, as I said, I went through halfway in 3 hours, and a combination of my foot starting to hurt, running further with more vertical gain than I've ever had, and heat, vertical gain, running further than I have. That was just a recipe to slow down a bunch. I did meet someone really cool on it was a climb around mile 20. I got passed by a bunch of people, including this lady. Eventually caught back up, and we just started chatting, and we had like a pretty good amount of like, she would talk, I would talk. So only one person has to think at a time. Um, and she was really experienced. She's done 100-miler, 50Ks a bunch, like knew what was up. So I kind of went with her pacing, which was, I think, really smart. I maybe could have run a little faster if I just like went to a pain cave and like sucked it up the whole time. And I just don't think that was where I wanted to be mentally. So having somebody to chat with that was experienced and knew how to pace ups and downs better than I do, because like going up, I would just go really slow. Going down, I would go as fast as I physically could. Not on purpose. It's just like if I'm going downhill, I want to use the momentum. And she was a little more even keeled. So ups and downs were a little more like purposeful, I guess. So that was good. That was helpful. If you guys have any questions in the chat, I see there are actually a handful of people in here today. If you got questions on a 50K race or anything like that, let me know. But gear wise, to that heat point, it was really hot. We were stopping at aid stations. They had ice I would throw in my shirt to just try and pull some heat off me. I would throw it in the cap. I was wearing the Ontos running hat, which, as I've said a time or two already, the Ontos running hats are live on their pre-order. So if you want to support me, you can grab an Ontos hat. That would be really sick. But yeah, I was throwing ice in my hat and my shirt. They had sponges where they would put ice water on your head and just, again, try and pull some heat off of you. So that was necessary. I would have liked to not have to wear my Solomon vest. I would have much preferred a belt, but I didn't have the right size belt at the store because they're out of stock and we're restocking them. It should literally be like this week, which is fine. But I would have preferred that and a tank top instead of a t-shirt. Although the La Sportiva t-shirt does do really, really well, to be honest. But I would have rathered to wear a tank with a belt than a t-shirt and a vest. That would have just let you push off a little more heat. Um, Unsurprisingly, when I went to bed last night looking at my HRV this morning, it was really reduced. Ended up with like 56,000 steps yesterday, um, which is a lot. I did not feel very good when I got done with the race, so uh, my like stomach didn't feel good, and then uh, I wasn't really nauseous, but I didn't like feel great. My head was a little spinny, but put in some more carbs, so had the rest of my dots, had the rest of my Sour Patch Kids. Again, carbs very good post race. Would have preferred to get more protein in, but it sounded horrendous. Um, I tried to eat some rice when I got home and just was not interested in eating the rice. I took one bite and said, "Oh, thank you, wife, for making this. I can't eat this." But we ended up getting pizza later. I was able to put one piece of pizza down, which felt like a win. Had another Canada Dry, which again, more carbs. And I tried to stay up on water, but man, it was crazy. I had to have drank a gallon and a half, maybe 2 gallons of total fluids yesterday, and I was still super dehydrated uh, when I was going to bed. So we are working on that. We had water before our coffee, and now we are doing coffee, and coffee is fluids. Fluids are hydrating. But yeah, HRV really low, like super low. Um, Unsurprising. I'm really sore all over, like physically, like my traps are sore, I think, from carrying the vest, which I normally carry a vest when I'm running, but um, that was for a lot longer than I had been. My legs are sore, but fine. They feel like good sore, like I did something sore. My foot is the only thing that like really hurts. And I don't love that it's hurting today because that means something is probably goofy, which means I probably have to take a longer period of time off, which is what I was trying to avoid with this race. But I don't know. It's interesting. There's like some level of like feeling accomplished, but also like, I don't know. I said I was going to do this race and then I went and did it. So yeah, I did the thing I said I was going to do. But it was really hard. It's for sure the hardest thing I've physically had to do. Many of you know, many of you don't. I did the decathlon in college, which is a 2-day event where you're doing a bunch of sprinting and jumping and throwing and like track and field events. And then you come back the second day and do 5 more of those events. And you end with a 1,500-meter run. Nobody really likes doing the 1,500 at the end of that. It is not a particularly fun thing to do. And the last 10 miles of this race felt like I was doing the 1,500-meter race repeatedly in terms of like effort and desire to be done. So instead of it taking under 5 minutes, those 10 miles took me 2 hours, more than that probably for the last 10 miles because I went out way too fast. So yeah, that was hard. That was the hardest physical thing I've done, which does give me a sense of pride. Like, oh yeah, I did something really hard, which I think certainly is good. Um, let's see, any questions over here in the chat? No, not yet. There are a bunch of you guys on here. Throw something in the chat so I can talk to you guys. I think that'd be fun. But I think that's like the general race recap. If I missed anything and you guys are curious at home, by all means, drop a comment or question below. If not, I don't know what else I have to throw in here. Let's see. I'll give it until 25 minutes into the stream. We're at 24:30. So I'll give folks 30 seconds to either say hi or drop a comment or question in the chat here. If not, I do have to go to work today, which will be really interesting and super duper fun. Not really. I say that sarcastically. But I do have to get ready for work, so we'll see. If you guys have big questions, oh, I don't have to go to work until 12. I don't know what I'm talking about. That's funny. I've got all the time in the world, actually. But if nobody's here, we can just be done. Let's see. Had a handful of people stop in. 7 views during a stream is not bad for me. I see that there are still a couple of people in here as live viewers, but it looks like it switched over. So yeah, I'm just kind of recovering today. Going to go do some red light therapy, get a little bit of healing hopefully on the foot, and then get ready for work. Cool. I think that'll do it. Hope you guys have a great day. We will see you guys in the next one. We'll be back to our normal schedule next week at 9 a.m. Saturday. 9 a.m. on Saturday. Sweet. See you guys. Bye. Oh, Randolph, thank you. I was like one button click away from that ending. Thank you. I really appreciate it. I hope you've had a good week. Did you do anything fun running wise? This week or last? Also, it's weird that it doesn't have timestamps here. Or do you have anything fun coming up, Randolph? Also, as always, thank you for popping in here. Even if it's like 1 or 2 comments, it's really cool to have somebody who shows up and seems to enjoy being around. Just finishing long run a few minutes ago. Cool. Working, cool down, stretch, and shower. Working time. Yeah. Yeah. I also have to get ready to go to work in a couple hours, which is nice, but hope the long run was good. Did you get anything specific done that you wanted to, or just an easy long run? What was your deal for the day? Or if you have to go, you can by all means just say bye, and I'll catch you next week. Again, normal time next week on Saturday. Abandoned the run-up plan and started a Koros half marathon plan. Man, I'll tell you, the Koros half marathon plans are really stinking good. I ran one back to back, I think. I did 2 rounds of it, and I really enjoyed it. I think the way they program workouts, long runs, and like strides or intervals, like something to make you faster, is just really good. I am consistently like pleasantly surprised by them. Um, my wife just started Coupa, and I'm really interested in that. Much better for my still actually working to build the aerobic base. Yeah, that totally makes sense. What I hear about Runna regularly is it just over pushes people. Um, like it makes you overreach for too long, and then you can run into injuries. So far, Coupa sounds to be better on that front, but um, the Koros plans to me are totally good. There's nothing with the Koros plans that I really have a big problem with myself. I'm really thinking I might run a Koros plan for my whole block going into the marathon in December. So I know I kind of have an idea how I would adjust it because I do want to do the 16 by 16, so 16 weeks of 16-mile long runs. Because that should become more comfortable for me. Like 16 miles should get to be where it's like 2 hours. Is that right? Maybe a little bit under, which I think would be useful. Or if I want to do it on the trails, I can do 16 miles and make it really easy miles. But yeah, big ups on the Koros plans. I kind of want to do a Koopa plan. I think that would just be interesting to see like how these plans are adjusted over time, like when you have specific goals, and then like Koopa does B goals throughout. So like I'm going to run some 5Ks this summer just totally for fun. Oh, should I be around Western North Carolina? Which store would you most likely be working at if you're to drop by? I will be at um, the Boone location, and let me see. I'll tell you when I'm working. Koros. Nope, not Koros. LOL. I need to do a calendar. Started with a C. We were almost there. My brain's still kind of fried. This Friday, I am there all day, so I'm open 10 to 6. So yeah, Randolph, you should totally stop by. I would love to meet you. Open 10 to 6 for me on Friday. Totally stop by. That'd be really sick. Are you driving down to Georgia? Is that what we talked about maybe like 2 weeks ago? Cool, yeah, heading to Atlanta and then South Georgia for family. Be looking for some running gear. Yeah, man, drop by. Would love to have you stop through. That'd be really cool. I can get you hooked up with as much stuff as we've got on hand, and if you need anything else that we don't have on hand, I will do my darndest to find a way to get it to you. We pull inventory from our 3 stores and we special order stuff all the time. So if we don't have something on hand that you're really interested in and you want us to get it for you, man, I would be so happy to do it for you. Also, it seems like there's a huge lag on the studio. I don't know how big of a lag it is for you, Randolph, but I just realized this looks really far behind. But yeah, totally looking forward to it. I do think I'm going to jump here, but I hope you have a great day. Hope the cool down goes well, and I'll definitely look forward to seeing you at the store. You'll know me, so just say, "Hey, Joe, I'm Randolph," or whatever. Um, at any rate, I hope you have a great day. I'm going to jump. We'll see you probably on Friday. Bye.